So here are history's weirdest shaped countries. In this video, we'll be comparing shapes of countries of present day as well as countries that used to exist in history. Let's start with weird and slowly move our way to the craziest and weirdest shape. Number 20. Lithuania. Yeah guys, I know what you're thinking. This could possibly be the least strange shaped country in the world. And honestly, I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, it's quite round, has no edges, and it has a clear north, east, south, and west. However, there's one strange thing about it. This is the map of Africa. Do you see any similarities? Yeah, it's like they're almost the exact same shape. And the only edge that Lithuania does have is exactly on the same side as Madagascar. Number 19. Thailand. Thailand is a very weird shaped country. From north to south, it stretches 1,650 kilometers, and at the narrowest point, it's only 11 kilometers wide. Thailand has a fairly normal shape in the north until we go further south, meeting the small peninsula. Its shape is very similar to that of Myanmar. Number 18. Canada. Canada is mostly known for being a large and well-known country. But when people ask for the weirdest shaped countries, this one doesn't immediately come to mind. But this is not quite fair. Canada has a relatively normal shape until we go further north where we meet the territory of Nunavut and over 36,000 islands. And not to forget about the Great Hudson Bay in between the territory of Nunavut and provinces of Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec. Number 17. Chile. Now, normally, I would have placed Chile much higher on this list, but since everyone knows about it, I decided to put it lower. Besides, there are many more, even weirder shapes in the rest of this video. You should see number 1 on the list. Anyway, one fun fact about Chile is that you'll never hear anyone saying, I live in East Chile, or I live in West Chile. There's really no west or east since it only has an average width of 177 kilometers. Number 16. Denmark. Denmark is the southernmost country of the Scandinavian nation. It is a very small country, a little larger than the state of Maryland, or roughly 1% as large as the US. The country consists of more than 400 islands while only being 43,000 kilometers squared. Its capital is on the largest island, Zealand. Well, for Denmark at least, not for the Danish kingdom, because that would be Greenland. Number 15. Italy. Italy could possibly be one of the most well-known shapes in the world. Almost everyone who sees the shape knows which country it is. It is often compared to a women's boot, and it consists of 2 islands of which, funny enough, one is closer to France, that being Sardinia, and the other one being Sicily. Number 14. Greece. Despite the obvious reason why it's weird, the Great Archipelago stretches from mainland Greece all the way to Turkey. Greece also doesn't exactly have an average mainland. Its mainland stretches 1,110 kilometers along the borders of Albania, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Turkey. Greece consists of over 6,000 islands, with the archipelago alone counting for over half of it. This country is definitely one of the weirdest shaped countries in the world. I mean, just look at it. The mainland looks kind of weird. The archipelago almost touches Turkey and has edges and corners in every part of the country. Simply weird. Number 13. The Philippines. The Philippines is a weird-shaped country for similar reasons as that of Greece. However, unlike Greece, the Philippines doesn't exactly have a mainland. You could say it consists out of islands only. It consists of over 7,640 islands, of which 2,000 are inhabited. The weirdest part of its shape is the island of Palawan being very narrow and stretching 425 kilometers. Number 12. Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. At the 12th place, I chose 3 countries. Why? Well, because they kind of come as a one package, and these shapes are a little more complicated than previous ones. Let me explain. So, these 3 countries have weird shapes on their own, but aside from that, Uzbekistan has 4 enclaves entirely surrounded by its neighbor, Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan in its place has an enclave in Uzbekistan called Bayrak. Tajikistan in its place has 3 enclaves, 2 in Kyrgyzstan and 1 in Uzbekistan. That being said, let's look at the shapes of the 3 again. All 3 of the countries stretch inside each other, giving it something of a central meeting point of these 3, which is right here, the 3 nations point. What's noticeable, but doesn't appear to the eye first, is the west of Uzbekistan. Although having a very weirdly shaped east, did you notice the straight borders in the west? Of these 3, I think Tajikistan is the weirdest shaped, but that's just my opinion. Feel free to let me know yours. Number 11. Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is on this list for obvious reasons. First, take a look at the map. It's already weird for having 3 to 4 protrusions, but Armenia literally cuts through the country, leaving it with an enclave. Well, actually 2 enclaves. Maybe even 3. Yeah, definitely 3. And if we take a closer look at the Azerbaijan-Armenia borders, it also becomes clear the situation is quite complex. I mean, just look at the squiggles. Number 10, Malaysia. Malaysia deserves a spot on this list because it is literally divided in 2 halves by a sea. One part is part of the Eurasian landmass in the west, and the other, an island of its own in the east. Besides that, the eastern island is again split into 2 by one country, Brunei. Number 9. Norway. Stretching all the way from southernmost point to Russia is very impressive. Norway has a long but very thin shape, which is quite unique. It has the second longest coastline after Canada, measuring a length of 83,000 kilometers. It also has the most islands after Sweden, with 239,000 islands. They definitely deserve a spot in the top 10. Number 8. Moresnet. Moresnet was a small Belgian-Prussian condominium in Western Europe that existed from 1816 to 1921, and was administered jointly by the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. This is its map. It's a triangle. Nothing more, nothing less. The tiny territory of the neutral Moresnet was only 1.6 kilometers wide and 4.8 kilometers long, and the total area was only 3.5 kilometers squared. Number 7. The Gambia. The Gambia is a small country, completely based on one river. You might guess the name, the Gambia River. It's a quite unique shape thinking about the fact that it's the only country in the world based completely around a natural feature. Number 6. Indonesia. Even in the 21st century, there was no agreement on the exact count of the approximately 17,000 islands which make up the country. Indonesia is scattered out over 3,181 miles from east to west and 1,094 miles from north to south. But just like the Philippines, it doesn't really have a mainland. And just remember, we haven't even been talking about the border with Papua New Guinea. Literally a straight line dividing an island in 2. Number 5. Croatia. Like discussed in an earlier video, Croatia has a crazy shape. It's like Pac-Man trying to eat Bosnia-Herzegovina. Bosnia-Herzegovina is also pretty doomed if we're looking at their coast. Oh wait, they don't have one. Croatia literally stretches so far it takes up the entire coast. This is gonna be one of the weirdest shapes in today's geography. Number 4. India. India might be home to the most complex borders in the world. Their shape on its own is extremely weird, with Bangladesh in between its borders. However, if we zoom in on the borders of India and Bangladesh, the shape gets even weirder. With 111 enclaves inside Bangladesh, its shape takes another turn in the story. But look at this map for a while. The white line is literally a border. India could definitely be one of the weirdest shaped countries of the world, if not the weirdest, but we still have some weird ones left. Number 3. Middle Francia. Middle Francia was part of the Frankish kingdom created in 843 and ended in 855. It's a weird long shape crossing one part of Europe from north to south completely. If that's not enough, it takes up parts of Italy as well, including the island, nowadays known as Corsica and owned by France. It's a weird, not natural border and deserves a place in the top 3 for crossing Europe, barricading other countries from traveling easily from Western to Eastern Europe. Number 2. British India. Back in time, that map looked like this. Yeah, really. I mean, what on earth is this? This is British India, a nation that was part of the British Empire from 1857 to 1947. But now you're confused. Shouldn't British India look like this? Well, sort of. You see, this is the Indian Empire. The Indian Empire was an empire inside an empire. It was made up of Indian states controlled by local rulers and British India. The portion of the empire ruled directly by the British. The empires of India and British India were substantially different in terms of governance and organization, and so they were kind of 2 different empires and so had 2 different maps. This one was definitely weird, but wait until you see the next one, which is actually still active as a country in present days. And number 1. French Polynesia. French Polynesia spans an enormous area of about 4 million square kilometers. If you took the whole area as one complete landmass, it would be the world's 7th biggest nation, situated between Australia and India. It's huge enough to traverse 3 time zones. However, with a landmass of 4,167 square kilometers, it ranks at 173, which is pretty disappointing. This geographical region is made up of 118 islands, with a population of only 275,000. Just to give you a better understanding of how weirdly huge it is, Take a look at this map where French Polynesia is pictured on the continent of Europe. Yeah, in my opinion, this definitely deserved the #1 spot on this list. And with that said, we've come to the end of this video. As we speak, we're close to getting 20,000 subscribers. Maybe we already got it when this video comes online, but consider subscribing if you like this sort of content. Also, watch this video now showing on your screen for more shape-related topics. Anyway, thank you for watching, and as always, see you in the next of Earth Basics.